Hi, I'm Scott Crabill, Managing Partner at Thoma Bravo, and this is Beyond the Deal, our bonus episode of Thoma Bravo's Behind the Deal, and I'm here with Imprivata CEO Fran Rosch. So Fran, we talked a little bit about Imprivata in Behind the Deal, but maybe you can give us a bit of an elevator pitch here for those who didn't listen to that episode.
Sure. Imprivata is an access management company focused on healthcare and other mission-critical operations. We make it simple and safe, primarily for clinicians, to access sensitive patient information so that they can provide great care.
Excellent. So I'd love to transition to talk a little bit more about you.
Okay.
And first, how would you describe your style of leadership?
So I think a couple things. I think my style is pretty open and transparent. I really believe in if we share and give a lot of people enough information, right, they'll be empowered to make the right decisions and move things forward. So open and transparency. I think a second thing for me is I'm ambitious, and I'm a goal-driven person. And I like to create an organization that's very goal-driven and ambitious and accomplish a lot of things so I can push. And then the third is inquisitive. I love to learn. I love to always ask questions and encourage everyone in the organization to ask questions and challenge. That'll get us to I think the best spot in the end.
Did you have in your career a mentor that you really learned your leadership style from, or someone that you kind of patterned your leadership after?
No, and I know a lot of people do. I've never really had that mentor. I've worked for a lot of great people, and I've worked for some people who I really felt weren't that great. And I feel you learn from both the people you really admire and you can take things away from, but also you see things you don't want. And you say, I'm not going to be like that. And, I was at Symantec for 8 years. We had 5 CEOs in 8 years. So you see a little bit of everything in that time frame. Mm-hmm. So never a single mentor, but I think everybody's your mentor in a way. You're always watching and observing and saying, I really like that. I'm gonna take that with me, or I really don't like that, and that's not the way people should be treated. So I'm never going to do that if I ever get an opportunity to lead.
Yep. You remember anything specific that you didn't like or didn't want to emulate?
Oh, sure. I think that I saw leaders that kind of put their energy like pitting internal teams against each other. And there was so much wasted energy kind of inside the company instead of outside, focusing on customers, focusing on competition, focusing on winning in the market, just that wasted energy of fighting internally because there wasn't clear direction from the top. Who was doing what?
Got it. I've heard you say that feedback is a gift. Have you, in the course of your career, received any feedback from a boss, a peer, or someone that you've worked with that's really been helpful for you, that you've leveraged as you've built your career?
And thank you, Scott. I do really believe feedback is a gift. And I say that all the time at work. And somewhat I say it for the organization, but I also say it to remind myself, because I don't always take feedback very well. But I think we do have to realize that you don't always have to act on it or take it. But I believe it's really important. And I think some of the best feedback that I received is to take time to listen. And ask questions. When I go around and do a lot of employee roundtables, and I will really spend 3/4 of it just asking questions and listening to what people say. Or when you go out and meet a customer, don't go right into your pitch. Is take that time to ask and listen. And I think that's been a great piece of feedback for me, because I am a talker and I love what I do and I love my products, and I can just get into that sell mode right away. Just to step back and listen is a piece of feedback that I've received, and I try to leverage.
That's great. I heard someone mention the other day that the best CEOs are there to serve their direct reports and the people that are doing the functional work in the organization, rather than for the people being there to serve them, which I
Absolutely. I tell people I don't really actually do any of the work, right? So my job is to enable the people who do the work. And that kind of reverse pyramid of the most important people in the company are the ones that are interacting with the customers on a daily basis. And our job is to put them in a position of success.
Yep. What's the most significant hurdle that you've overcome in your career? Anything come to mind in terms of hurdles you've had to cross?
Let's see, hurdles. I think that I'll give you one example. So when I was at Symantec, I was asked to my whole career enterprise software, and the CEO at the time, a guy named Mike Brown, said, "We want you to run the consumer business unit," which was Norton at the time. I knew nothing about consumer advertising or marketing, and it was a tough commoditizing business at that time. It was actually shrinking. Single digits, though very profitable. It was a great challenge, but we got together with a great team, and we learned a lot about consumer marketing, consumer services, consumer subscription models, and we turned that business to growth while continuing to increase the profitability. That was a big challenge when you have 60 million subscribers, $2.5 billion of revenue. Moving that, turning that machine takes a while, but we did, and it was a great success.
Awesome. You've been working out of the Thoma Bravo offices for the last couple of days, so I've had the opportunity to work just down the hall from you, and I've seen you on lots of Zooms. You've been on lots of calls. I know you went to lunch with the CEO of another security software company, exchanged some notes and exchanged some ideas. So that's been great. But when you're back at the Imprivata office, what does a typical day look like for you?
A typical day. Well, I'm an early morning riser. I'm not a great sleeper, unfortunately, so I'm up early. That first cup of coffee to me is priceless. Just a simple black coffee is priceless in the morning. I like to catch up on news is a big thing. Get some sort of exercise in, whether that's go to the gym or do a little yoga. And then I like to be at my desk early. I love my job. I love working, and I work a lot of hours. And, that's not right for everybody, but it always has been a really important part of my life. So I'm at my desk early. I'm typically leaving my desk late, and I like to pack my schedule. And as we were talking a little bit, the job of a CEO is not it's not a job of isolation. It's a job of engaging with the team. So I spend a lot of my time in meetings and making sure people are moving things forward. I need quiet time to look at strategy, but I really have a packed schedule. And so it's a very busy day, which I like.
Excellent. So last question for you. You're still young, but you've had a long and distinguished career. Is there anything that you know now that you wish you could tell your younger self as you were kind of getting started in the business?
I guess I would say, anything is possible. And I think that however we grew up, however we were taught, however we were raised, you may not think that everything's possible. You may think there are some limitations on what you can accomplish. And I really think anything's possible. And I try to take that with me, try to communicate that to our teams. Let's really raise the bar, reach for it, because I think it's very much possible.
Excellent.
How about you? I'll turn that back to you. Anything that you wish you had known?
Well, first, just to comment on your advice to your younger self, I did have a mentor that had a similar philosophy, and it was a bit of a different spin. He said that every business problem is solvable. Mm-hmm. Personal problems, sometimes, those can be more difficult to solve, but every business problem is solvable if you break it down into its component parts and you get the right energy and the right people focused on the problem. So that's a corollary to your anything is possible.
Yes.
But for me, I'd like to tell myself that it's all about people. Mm. And being in the investment business, you focus so much on the products and the technology and the market and the financial trends, and those are all really, really important. But at the end of the day, the most important part is the people part. It's the leadership at the companies, getting that right, getting the right team on the field to execute on the strategy is so important. And many of the situations that I have had that have gone sideways or have gone south or have been more difficult or tougher to deal with, I think getting the right people in place is the panacea to improve those situations. And it's the same at Thoma Bravo and the organization, making sure that we have the best people in the industry here. That makes your job so much easier. 90% of the effort, will fall by the wayside if you have the right people.
Yeah,
in
the way
place.
that we say it starts with people. And a lot of times, we think of our ARR growth rate or profitability metrics or retention, and those are a result. Those are your resulting metrics. So you've got to go further upstream and say, okay, how am I going to get those? It starts with people. You got to have the right people in place. Then you got to have the right products and technologies, and you got to be able to sell them effectively. You got to support them. But it really does start with people, and then you'll get those results. And people go the opposite.
Yep, for sure. Well, great. Well, that's the last question I had. It's been great getting to know you a
Thank
little
you,
bit
Scott.
better.
I appreciate the
and
opportunity.
beyond the deal.
I appreciate the opportunity to be beyond the deal.
Thank you.